So welcome everyone to another session of CAD After Dark. And so this is just an open discussion. It's not over. I just want to talk about those that use Revit and possibly use, work with other team members that use Civil 3D. So I wanted to see what people are doing for their workflows, or what ideas they have, what wish list items they want Autodesk to do when you're working with Civil 3D and Revit. So on my end, since we create custom apps, I'm been getting a lot of demand from users asking, hey, do you have any Revit and Civil 3D apps? And we got something planned out this year to probably release a Revit and Civil 3D app, a collaboration tool. So we just got to work out some things out with a Revit programmer. So we do have a game plan. We do have an idea what we want to do. But I guess, Zata, on your end, have what is your ideas and what have you seen people, coordinating civil models and Revit models together? Or have you seen anything or
The times that I've seen people try to do site and topography work in Revit, excuse me, the site topography tools in Revit are pretty mediocre. They haven't changed in a very long time. And so people will go to their civil engineer and they'll ask them to make a true three-dimensional topography CAD file, either of existing and of new, or a combination of the two. Work it out. And then like they'll give me the 3D civil file and they'll clean it up with the stuff that I don't need. And then I'll bring it to Revit and import it in. And then I can make a decent Revit topo from the CAD file.
But then you probably have to move your model, right? Because that's probably coming in as a coordinate system, does it?
No, I mean, I work with my coworker who's a civil engineer, and I say, this is my Revit model, this is the project, this is where it sits right now. And he'll go ahead and build the topography 3D CAD file around where it's got to be.
Okay.
Either he'll tell me, move your Revit model. To a specific point.
Okay. So
by the way, it doesn't, for me, it doesn't matter because most of my theoretical conceptual projects, they're not real world, but real world, you got to have a datum.
Yeah, exactly. So I know that's been a big talks about, coordinate systems and Revit, that way we can easily share even like pipe networks straight from Civil to Revit, especially when you're coordinating with MEP, you want to make sure that those connections are spot on X, Y, and Z,
Yeah, my civil engineer guy, he says that there is an XML type of piggybacking feature where in Revit, you could choose to pick import an XML file from Civil. And he'll make the file and send it to me, and it'll make sure it's in the right position before. So I haven't tested it extensively though.
There hasn't been a lot out there. I haven't really seen anybody go and try to create something. So I'm going to look at something this year. So hey, Christian, thanks for joining us. How about your end? You're in the previous company and the current company you're in. Are y'all doing any kind of collaboration between the two products?
Hey, what's everybody? Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Nice. Cool. Yeah. I would say, like, from my end directly, I don't really work with anything to do with Revit. We do have we do export a lot of our 2D stuff to Revit users and whatnot. But other than that, I don't really have that much experience with it. I do kind of see like a pain, but maybe it could be within hours or even their workflow deficiencies or something like that. There's always kind of like a pain in the butt whenever we are exporting out line work and then they receive it, where there's kind of either it's on like as you're kind of saying, like a different coordinate system, and something very simple of just using like exporting out like within survey feet or different, something minute as that kind of causes like a different scaling change or like just a directional change for it. And then there's kind of like back and forth. So I think that's really as far as I get with coming close to Revit, or like opening some of their models they send me.
So when you coordinate with, let's say, an architect, and you request a floor plan, are you getting a good clean floor plan, or you have to go in and explode a lot of stuff?
Yeah, usually I have to do a lot of exploding because sometimes they kind of keep some of their
Mhm.
blocks that they created with inside of it, and then
Yeah.
it just kind of like makes the drawing
Hmm.
terrible. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or poor layer management is always
Yeah.
an issue. But
That's probably what they're saying about your drawing when you send it back to them. They're like, "What is this?" So the architect's like,
yeah,
"What in the world is this layer
yeah,
management?"
yeah, exactly. Um, but other than that, I mean, really, it's kind of just having it's really weird because it's like looking at something and it's like, oh
Yeah.
yeah, it doesn't look that dense.
Yeah.
But then whenever you kind of just export out that line work and you put it into a
Hmm.
cleaner file, but maybe it's a drawing template that was in the setup that was so kind of corrupted potentially.
Hmm.
Um, then everything just flows a lot better though.
Yeah.
But I just feel like,
I totally understand. I always had to do cleanup. They would send me, "Hey, I just need the floor plan. I don't need all the rest of the stuff." And I know there's tools, right, Zonta and Revit, where you can
mhm.
export certain features out of Revit so you can get just the floor plan, I'm assuming. So,
Mhm.
Correct. It's pretty straightforward to
yeah,
export your floor plan from Revit out.
yeah.
And if you're doing it with the AutoCAD, a lot of times you're going to end up going into the CAD file and clean it up for them.
So let me ask you this: if somebody exports a model, like a proposed terrain model, to you, oop, camera, and
For me,
you are you making any kind of edits in Revit? I guess when you get that surface model um, to it.
Say the question again.
So if you're, let's say I'm exporting a proposed surface, and I'm giving you this XML file, and you're going to bring it into Revit. At your end, are you kind of making any kind of modifications, or are you just applying
Uh,
materials?
well, when we're looking at it from a Revit standpoint, I either request the actual 3D AutoCAD topo file from the
Hmm.
system engineer that has all the different layers and things like that, and then I will only import the specific layers that have the topo
Hmm.
on. Or
Okay.
if they give me an XML or they give me a CSV points file,
Yeah.
I can do the same thing.
So
And once it's in and I convert it into a Revit topo surface, I will clean it up if I have to. Move points, modify points.
okay.
Yeah.
So let's say you did modifications and then I send you a new one. I'm assuming all your points, edit points are pretty much obsolete when I gain you a new
Correct.
model. Yeah.
Correct. There's no
Yeah.
live linking back and forth to
Yeah.
one.
Yeah. Okay.
It would be
So
really cool. That would
yeah.
be really cool.
Yeah. Let me ask you the next question. I actually had a client, they also had, they were a landscape company and they were using Land FX for inside Civil 3D for land design, but they were trying to do landscaping in Revit, all their landscaping design. I said that's
Okay.
kind of difficult, because you have to do a lot of conversion of what they did in Civil 3D and then put it into Revit. And to me, I
Mhm.
felt like they were doing double work. It's like, hey, you already got some of it in Civil 3D. Why are you now doing it, kind of redoing the work in Revit? But I don't know if you've seen that, but I've only seen it one company do it. They spent a lot of time and effort to make landscape plans in Revit.
What I've seen people do is like the site tools in Revit aren't very good to begin with. And I remember Autodesk buying Eagle Point, the company for Eagle Point site
Yeah,
software tool,
yeah,
and they integrated it and it kind of fizzled out. And so a lot of people are still requesting to have the tools necessary to do landscape drawings.
yeah. I mean, what tools are in Revit that you can do landscape? I'm sure there's 3D
There
trees,
isn't.
but
There
what
isn't.
else?
Very little. Very little.
You can apply materials to the grass, I guess, and
Right.
um,
You can take the topo surface and you can subdivide it into different regions and
mhm,
apply different materials to them.
mhm,
And then you can, drop families in that are site families
mhm.
like trees and parking and anything else, but it's not really truly a
Yeah.
landscape
So,
designer's tool.
I have a
yeah,
question.
go ahead, Christian.
So and again, maybe you guys can provide a little bit better context still, but really it's all of the landscape architects that I'm kind of used to working with. We don't really send any 3D really stuff to them. I mean, I feel like like they could design all their stuff accordingly just by using 2D line work,
Hmm.
or then just providing like a 2D service lines, or I'm sorry, like 2D
Yeah.
utilities and whatnot. I don't know why there would be a need to import any sort of
I
surface
think it was
into there.
because they can run all kinds of queries on the planters and the trees within Revit, I'm assuming, and then
Yeah, for scheduling, quantification,
scheduling tables they can create.
even like area quantification, so they know
Yeah.
like which area has grass versus mulch or
Yep. So I think that's what they were using for is classification, creating tables, breaking plants and trees based on certain species. And then they were able to create sections to create like elevation plans or exhibits. Like, so yeah.
Okay, I got
Yeah.
you.
Besides doing it in SketchUp, they can do it in Revit. And now they
Okay.
have certain angles they can just boop, screen capture. Now here they have an elevation plan or a short diagram, section view or something. So I think that was their main intent and goal. But I just like, well, there's not that much Revit, landscape tools in Revit. But hey,
I was thinking good ideas. If you have a client, Tony, that's a landscape designer who's willing to share with me, say, a set of landscape documents that they've done for a project,
yeah,
I can try to mimic it in Revit and see how far I can get
yeah,
with the existing Revit tools. And
I'll reach out to them and see. It's been 2 years since I talked to them, but see if they're still doing it.
okay.
So, but yeah, one of their offices they were doing, they were, yeah, it was one client, they had a big client and that's who they were doing it for. But yeah, I was kind of curious. I didn't know if you've seen since you're on the Revit side. So,
No, I think it would be really cool if we could get like a workflow or at least some type of quote unquote mapping set of instructions for landscape designers to say, here are the 5 or 10 steps in Revit you do to do this kind of a landscape plan. That would be really neat.
Yeah. I think I did it for Augie like 2 years ago. I wrote a little blog where, if you're doing landscaping, you want to create a simple 3D model. I took a landscape drawing and then I created, I took their blocks they were using for certain specimen of trees and plants. And then I use those blocks and brought them into InfoWorks and link a name to a tree. So if the block says this, it would be this kind of tree in InfoWorks. So when I brought all the blocks in, it just put up all the trees and put up all the plants and stuff. I went and downloaded a bunch of plants from 3D Warehouse or Trimble. I think it's Trimble now. 3D Warehouse and download all these couple planters. And it saves a lot of time. Now I have a 3D model, preliminary 3D model. Now apply terrain, material to the grass. But that was kind of one workflow I was doing with landscaping, InfoWorks, and Civil 3D. But that would be kind of cool. Let's say in Civil 3D, I just put a block representing a tree, but that block has like a 3D attributes. And when I put it into Revit, it's a 3D tree, it's actual 3D tree.
Let me ask you this sense. Okay. On the left hand, you have InfoWorks. On the right hand, Civil 3D.
Yeah.
Of the two tools, and you use them to create, say, the landscaping content, the trees, the bushes, all that kind of stuff. Does either one of them have the ability for you to export it in a format that I can very quickly, easily make Revit families from?
You probably
could.
I mean,
I can have a giant library of families that are for landscape engineers.
I guess it said no one's ever attempted. I mean, I'm sure somebody's attempted, but I haven't seen anybody try it. But it'd be nice. The thing about it is, the model in InfoWorks is just simply a 3D model. You can't give it to the contractor. You can export it as an FBX file, but it's just really a presentation model. What's that?
Can you export it as a 3D AutoCAD file?
I can export it as a 3DX Max file or FBX file, or what's the other one? OBJ. Yeah.
Not DWG, huh? Wow.
Yeah, I think you can do it in 3DWG too. Yeah, you can
I don't know InfoWorks.
Yeah,
I touched it so long ago.
It has a lot of nice trees, landscaping trees, and you can bring in flowers, but the only thing that lacks is like the facade for the grass is terrible. It's just like an image.
Ah,
And if you
okay.
try to go to like texture.com, where it has thousands of uh, um, images for landscaping, walls and stuff. Well,
Mm,
when you try to use that as a landscape image, you can see the pattern. It's the same pattern, so you can see the grid lines, and it looks terrible. So
mm,
they haven't resolved that. I would love to have the trees, the landscape grass, look like Inkscape or Lumion, or not even that detailed, but Inkscape has a decent looking, kind of looks like real grass, not just an image draped over the terrain.
I see.
So um, but yeah, uh, that's something that's really, really lacking. I'm surprised Autodesk is not making a bigger push, is a true, really good workflow with Revit and Civil 3D. That's the two biggest products out there to me.
Mhm.
Design products. AutoCAD, maybe Autodesk is the biggest because it caters to, landscaping, interior design, architectural, MEP. There's a lot of companies, custom home builders are using AutoCAD. So almost every industry is using AutoCAD. So maybe it's the biggest user, but Civil and Revit is still, way up there too. But yeah, I wanted to see, I was hoping to get more people involved and see what they've done in their in-house. Like, for example, are people using BIM 360 to push a 3D model of, Civil 3D surface into BIM 360, and then you're taking that model straight from there in Revit, you're syncing straight to that model,
Yeah,
you
they do
know.
have the functionality built in now.
Yeah,
So in Revit, you can import a civil file directly from your ACC portal.
yeah.
I haven't tried it yet. Just my coworker and I
That
did it.
I was just thinking about the 3D models. Like, okay, I export that 3D model to BIM 360 Cloud, whatever platform, out of this platform you're using, the cloud storage. And when you bring it into Revit, it's not a direct link. It's just an import export tool, right? I'm assuming
No,
it's not
my
direct.
understanding, I haven't tested it, but my understanding is that it is a live link.
Oh, so yeah. So if I update and re-export it back to the cloud, you should
Yeah.
get a notification.
Every
Hey,
single time every single time I hit reload,
yeah,
it'll.
okay, yeah. That makes sense. It should be. So, uh, I haven't had opportunity. I do have Revit. I haven't had opportunity to really play with it and sync things back and forth. I'm mostly doing it with InfraWorks,
Okay.
um, and Navisworks. Sometimes I'll play with Navisworks, look at some of their utility clash detection tools, but not Revit. So, um, but yeah. So what's I guess what's the biggest thing you've seen in collaboration on Revit, that people are doing for collaboration? So if somebody's going to collaborate with a client or a contractor, what are they doing for collaboration between, those parties?
So if you're the architecture team and you
Hmm.
have to coordinate against the owner or the GC or
Yeah.
the sub, usually they're using Autodesk Construction Cloud.
Projection Cloud.
If they don't, then they're just creating everything in exporting everything to PDF and going
Mm.
back to Autodesk, and they
So
just.
what I've been doing in Civil 3D, I will use the tool. Like if I'm coordinating with the contractor or client, I will use the share view
Yes.
tool. And
Yes.
then that way they can open it up in AutoCAD, the free version.
Yes.
And now they can see it. Not high resolution, but they can move around 3D model, put dimensions, and add text. That's kind of nice.
It is.
Um,
It is.
that's
Yeah, we're
great for
doing.
civil, but on the InfraWorks side, which I brought this up to Autodesk, is that if I share a model in InfraWorks into the cloud, it's terrible. The resolution is terrible. It's like bringing something from 10 to like 2 or 3. Yeah, and I wish they could upload like a light version of InfraWorks, the resolution tools, into the cloud, where they can't edit, they can't do anything, but at least you get that high quality resolution. Because when I talked to a client one time and I showed them a 3D model and I was doing screen capture on Zoom, they're like, "Oh, it's cool." Then I shared the model to them, like, "This is not the same file you were sharing, the model we were looking at, right?" And I said, "Yeah, it is. It's
Hmm.
just the cloud doesn't, it lowers the resolution down." And you're like, "Yeah, this looks terrible." That's what he told me. This looks terrible. And so I stopped using that little collaboration tool that's in InfraWorks to share the model, because it's just it doesn't work that great for developer. They're like, but yeah. Um, Are there any third-party applications that you've seen out there that are being used by Revit users to collaborate that's outside of Autodesk? You know,
I'm sure that there are.
custom.
I
Yeah,
haven't seen it.
yeah,
Just because I don't, most of the clients that I work with, they don't really touch the civil part
yeah.
that much.
Do you ever see members use like ProjectWise with Revit?
I've heard of it, but I have yet to meet a client that does.
Yeah, I'm seeing a couple companies use ProjectWise as it's a
Is it
another it's
similar
kind
to
of
Maximo?
what's that?
Is ProjectWise very similar to something like, say, Maximo? Or is it for
That I'm unfamiliar with. ProjectWise is by Bentley,
okay?
and so it's kind of like similar to Vault, Autodesk Vault, checking in,
Ah,
checking things out, um, syncing things across multiple servers. So I was just kind of curious on the Revit side if they were anybody you've seen that using ProjectWise for Revit products and Revit models. So
One thing
I barely even see any people using Revit and Vault together.
oh, I haven't ran into one client yet that on my end that's using Autodesk Vault.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's
Now we have a lot of clients that use Vault, but
really well.
yeah, a lot. But we don't have anybody that I know particularly that's using Vault with Revit files. They're using
Revit
Vault
files.
for other
Okay.
sometimes, but not Revit.
Yeah, yeah. That's what Kristen. You were about to say something.
Yeah, I think the I seen David. He kind of ran through Vault with me, and I seen a lot of really cool features that it has. But
Yeah,
I feel like the biggest thing that was kind of like, I would say, difficult to like implement with an entire company wise, it seems
yeah.
like you have to have like really defined workflow through things,
Hmm.
and people have to have a very good communication when doing anything within the files. And
Yep.
I feel like but again, that was just one little test drive that he kind of taken me, and I'm like
Hmm.
putting it in thought like, okay, because I was wanting to propose this for like my previous company. Hey, I think we should probably get off the server and do something more of like this.
Hmm.
And then I'm thinking like, oh man, I don't think this would be able to work, you know, just because of how specific how things kind of needed to be
Hmm.
re-uploaded onto the onto to Vault and whatnot.
Yeah.
Just
I
that kind
only
of stuff.
experienced Vault when it came out, first came out. I don't know if it was 2007 when it came out. I experienced it 2009 and it was a nightmare. It was a nightmare. It was so buggy and yeah, and after that it just left a really bad taste in my mouth and never went back. So and I think a lot of users felt that way in 2009 about Vault and a lot of them didn't come back. And that was kind of their baby, flagship when it came out was Vault. Everybody get on Vault. And it was just advertisement, Vault, 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 AU flags, Vault everywhere, but not anymore. I mean, when's the last time you saw a webinar or even something about Vault?
Oh, I
So
mean, yeah. I mean, my coworker counterpart who does the Vault and Inventor and all that stuff, he's always touching Vault. He's
the inventor, I see.
constantly.
Yeah. I don't I hear about stuff about more about the cloud platforms and stuff and tools and the
You'd be
Autodesk
surprised.
construct can
You'd be surprised. We have a lot of clients who actually do Vault.
wow. Wow, that's
He's constantly building Vault servers.
are they on the transportation side, maybe?
They are on the manufacturing side.
Okay, okay. Okay, so I don't
He
have any
handles,
manufacturing clients.
he handles all the manufacturing clients,
Okay.
and every single time I look at his calendar, it's always
Vault.
building a Vault server or standing up a Vault server or
Yeah.
testing.
Yeah, my clients are all on the, land desktop, I mean, not land desktop, land development side and or either city municipality,
Hmm.
um, sometimes schools and contractors. That's who my
I'm
clients are.
surprised they don't municipalities aren't using Vault.
No, you'd be surprised how far behind they are in technology. But cities are so strict on software, buying software, just the paperwork, getting software is just ridiculous. So,
Hmm.
um, but um, but yeah, what what new tools have come out recently in Revit? what's 2023, we had a couple of new features for Civil 3D came out in the latest update. Did y'all get any latest updates in Revit 2023
Oh
recently,
man,
last few months?
we got a massive list of updates in 2023 for
Oh yeah.
Revit.
What was
It
the
was
biggest update you saw that was
super
like, or the
extensive.
best?
One of the nicer things was, and it's really simple, it's being able to understand what views already placed on a sheet
Yeah.
by just a little icon square in front of the view in the project browser.
Yeah.
It's something that simple.
Yep.
Let me pull up. Let me think. I have Revit's PowerPoint.
It's something I was noticing when I have 5 different versions of Civil on my computer, but every version is getting bigger and bigger. The file, I mean, the actual application,
It is.
we're getting close to. I think we're getting close to. I don't know if it's 9 point something megs just for the Civil product. We're eventually going to hit the 10 gigabytes. So
Yeah, I haven't checked like the file size of the installation for Revit just because Autodesk has changed how installations are being pushed down and installed.
Mhm.
But in regards to like the new features for Revit, they've got to have quick count 3, 6, 9, 20, 40, 40, 60, 80, about 150, 200 updates.
Oh
New features
wow.
like measuring in 3D.
Yeah.
What else? I only showcase the cool stuff that most architects, interior designers, and
Yeah.
MEP structural people want. All
Yeah.
the other back stuff, I don't like.
Yeah.
View referencing, searching, enable cutting and views, temporary dimensions for shared nested families. There's so, I mean, it's a laundry list of features
Yeah.
and functions they bring in. New like solar analysis command
Yeah.
within the ribbon, being able to adapt and change those
Yeah.
things. Really kind of modifying and being able to adjust the floors.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people, like I use floors not just to build floors in Revit, but I
Yeah.
use it to build roads and curves and sidewalks, things like that. And so being able to really granularly manipulate it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
They have a lot more conditional formatting in schedules and filter by sheets for a view on a sheet. Being able to do more displaced elements in 2D and 3D and tagging them as well.
Yeah.
There's a lot. There's a lot. So
Yeah.
of all the new features for all the main feature products that Autodesk has, like AutoCAD, Revit, Navisworks, Civil 3D, I think Revit's got everybody beat.
Yeah.
In the regards to what are all the new features and updates. I think
Yeah. We didn't have that many.
we got a lot. I mean, it's ridiculous. And that's just the general stuff. I mean, they even get to the MEP stuff and the structure, like, here's one. I'm not even a structural engineer, but one of the features is, let's say you have a concrete column and you've already done all the rebar for it, and it's beautiful, right? But you've got 50 columns in a base system that are identical. All you have to do is touch one column that has all of the rebar that you want and say replicate.
There we go.
And boom, all of them.
It's like the AutoCAD match properties.
Yeah, basically it's like that, but it's full on 3D rebar. And I'm like, dude, this is insane.
Yeah, it makes sense.
I don't know why they didn't have that before.
Like 10 years ago.
But yeah, it really they did a lot of really good updates software. And it's the thing too with 23 is each year they work on it, it gets more.
Yeah.
So there's less likely to have weird hiccups and anomalies and stuff.
Do you think with this latest update, they're doing this because people are probably creating their own tools in Dynamo and they're like, okay, that's a good idea. Let's go do that, but they're not doing it in Dynamo. Because a lot of people are just like, hey, we're missing all these tools. I'll just go and create it in Dynamo,
My understanding is that they've already integrated Dynamo into Revit constantly.
Yeah.
And they're always introducing the latest Dynamo engine in the Revit.
Yeah.
They even have a Dynamo player that's in Revit. So it's easy to work side by side.
Yeah. Yeah. I was just wondering because some people, they create Dynamo scripts and they just give it out to the public for free and maybe send it to Autodesk. And I wonder if Autodesk turns around and takes that Dynamo script and turns it into a feature within Revit,
I don't know enough Dynamo. I haven't stayed, on
Yeah.
current.
They try to make it sound so easy, Dynamo, but it's not that easy as they make it play to me.
Yeah. I mean, when I first started playing with Dynamo when it came out, I really pushed hard for like 6 months
Yeah.
to like learn it and adapt it and try it. And I did, you know, understand it, and I
Yeah.
did was able to make scripts and things like that. And I've got the
Yeah.
YouTube, I've got some videos on it, but
Yeah.
you really need to have a programming mindset.
Hmm.
So they say it's a visual scripting program, not that meant for people who are not programmers. I
Yeah.
still think you need to have some programming
You
mindset.
got to have some program, because when I talked to them when they introduced it to Sybil, I told Autodesk when it was at AU, the last time I went to AU, and they were going to release it in our infrastructure, meetup. I told them, who's this meant for? Is it for everybody? Like, yes. I'm like, no, not everybody's going to be sitting there creating Dynamo scripts in Civil 3D when they have no background. You think an engineer is going to want some guy sitting there for 4 hours trying to create something that they can just do it in basic AutoCAD, copy and paste tool a couple times in a couple of seconds. But they're in there trying to spend hours. Imagine all of your users and CAD managers and engineers are sitting there creating Dynamo stuff. I said, this is really meant for BIM and CAD. The way I see it is really meant for BIM and CAD managers, go build those tools for the engineers, the architects, the ITs, and, not for everybody,
It's meant to help with the mundane tasks, the repetitive tasks,
Yeah.
the querying of
Yeah.
data and stuff.
What's interesting is when I went to AU one year, I think it was 3 or 4 years ago, they had remember what's that competition, the Revit competition, and everybody's doing it in Dynamo. Didn't you partake in one of them? I thought you did. And they were building a stadium and they were doing nothing but Dynamo.
No, I did not participate because I shy away from Dynamo. Sorry.
Yeah, and I'm sitting there watching them. They're like just creating this giant spider web up, and they're doing this for a good hour. Nothing's happening because they're creating a Dynamo script, and then they hit the player, and you start seeing the foundation, some of the walls go up for the stadium and stuff. And but yeah, I'm like, while you're creating this Dynamo script, somebody in CAD could be drawing that up and be kindly halfway done before you finish your Dynamo script, just drawing 2D line work and 2D elevations, or even just basic Revit, creating the foundation, the walls and stuff. I guess it's cool, Dynamo, but I don't think it's going to pick up as much as they think it is going to pick up, to me, my personal opinion, especially on the civil side, because it's lacking a lot of stuff compared to the Revit side. So,
I do know that there are architecture firms that do use Dynamo in their workflow.
It's like HBK or HKS. I think they use it.
No,
they're pretty massive.
Usually the bigger ones that have teams that can dedicate, they'll do that.
Yeah.
But it does make sense. Like let's say, for example, you're working on a new structural bridge for, a site. And you have to come up with 5 different designs of that structural bridge that has fixed points. It would make sense to use Dynamo to write a script to build the bridge with those fixed points. And then they could come back later and make minor variable adjustments in the Dynamo script, and it will make the bridge design change quickly.
Yeah.
Do you remember what is his name? The other expert elite, oh my gosh, what is his name? He's really, really high end up there. He's got curly, dark hair. He's tall, skinny. Sam, his last name is anyway, Sam. Yeah, I think his last name starts with an S. Anyway, he did a lot of AU classes, and one of his AU classes was how to build an elephant in Revit.
An elephant?
Yes. And then years later, he did a class on how to build the elephant with Dynamo. So he's kind of crazy out there. I can't remember his name, but I can picture his face. Sorry.
I'm looking through the list here on the Maybe he's on LinkedIn.
Yeah, that's true. We can pull. I can bet you we probably could find him on LinkedIn faster than going
Yeah.
through AE list.
I bet you I know who you are if I saw him. Let's see, Sam. Just looking through the Expert Elite group. Maybe he's not on the Expert Elite group in LinkedIn.
There it is. Okay, let me pull this up and check.
Unless does he take part in the Autodesk community voices? And I always see a bunch of Dynamo videos.
No, he doesn't.
He doesn't? Okay.
He's so up, it's kind of weird.
He's in another echelon.
He's in another level of Expert Elite. Now, and I commend him for being really good at who he is and whatnot. But
well, I think we're all are strong in certain aspects of the software. Some people are like,
right.
"Oh, I'm really great on the architectural side of Revit. I'm really good at the MVP side of Revit. I'm really good at the programming side. So everybody's got their little strong points in the software. So,
his name is Marcelo.
Marcelo. Okay.
Yes, his last name is SGAMBELLURI. I cannot pronounce it, but it's Marcelo. He's very well known. He's a top AU speaker and all that. And but yeah, I remember he did a class for Autodesk University where he basically wrote Dynamo scripts to make the elephant that he showed earlier. There was another thing animal he built. It was
yeah.
Anyway,
yeah, those AU design was it called the design challenge or design tournament something? I don't know if they still do it, but I only took part in one, and it was the InfraWorks one when they came out, like 2012 when they came out. So I did it 2014 with Matt Wunsch, and I forget who else was in there. So it's the pressure's on because they don't tell you what you got to build, and you're like, hey, you got 30 minutes to build this model, you don't got nothing, you build it from scratch.
Right.
So and you're competing against the next person. So and then it was fun, but yeah. Okay, well, I'm gonna stop here. I was hoping to get some more people logged in. I wanted to just see who would be free during the weekend. I'm gonna probably do it one more time during the weekend to see who would show up. But this is gonna be good. I got it recorded. I'm gonna upload a YouTube channel. That way we can on our the actual Civil CAD Learning Solutions YouTube channel. Then I'll put it on our user group. But that's just we don't hear too much collaboration webinars about Civil and Revit as much as I like to see. And I got some ideas that I want to do in my company with collaboration tools and stuff. I want to see if it's even possible. We're gonna attempt to do it, and we'll see. Maybe there's a need for it. Maybe there's not a need for it. Because what if it's a great tool, but not everyone really is doing a lot of collaboration between the two products? So.
Well, the other thing too is it could be just too cumbersome.
Yeah.
By
the
time you make it work,
$100,000 in programming costs. Yeah, that's a good point. I have to always look at, okay, how long is it going to take my team to do this programming? Is it going to cost me, $20,000, $50,000, $100,000 for this app? And when would I see a return on investment on that? So that's something I always have to pay attention to is, the cost of return on that. So,
hey, Tony.
Yep.
Hey, I think what would be pretty nice is if maybe like you can have a CAD After Dark session for this. Maybe it's like we create like a very easy, small project or something like that. Like I'm talking like stupidly easy but within this project, we would be pretty much like utilizing like so let's say it's a road and there's like a lot or something like that, and there's like utility thing. So we have to kind of use corridors and then do some sort of grading and then utilities and so on. That'd be really nice if we can do like, again, something very small. And then we all kind of have like the battle of the workflows, kind of, you know what I'm saying? Where it's like you go about it like in a more of a higher level, you know, thing. And then kind of like within this higher level, you have this way, and then I'll have a way, and then someone else, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they kind of just sees like how everything differs, and you know what I mean? I think that would create some pretty cool discussion points.
Yeah. Okay.
But
yeah, we could also look into that. I think that's actually a pretty good idea. We'll see how many. We got to get a lot of people active in the group when you do CAD After Dark, you know. Okay, I don't want to keep you longer. I'm about to go have a drink and relax and watch a movie. And so, but thanks for coming on, Christian and Zantal. Thanks for coming on, and I'll send you a link. You know, when I get it uploaded on the YouTube channel, and then I'll put it on the user group platform. So, all right.
Good. It's always good to see you. Appreciate it.
Go, and yeah. All right, guys, stay active. All right, thanks later. Have a good weekend.
All right, see ya. Bye.
Bye.